Hey everybody, this is Andy Wanako here, and I'm here to talk to you guys about my review for
Avengers.
Nah, I'm just kidding. It's Justice League, and I will be going into spoilers towards the end of the video, so if you haven't seen the movie, you've been warned. Alright, first off, I want to talk about the characters. The characters are the ones that make this movie. If they didn't work as well as they did, this movie would have not been good. So I just want to give it to the characters, the actors. They brought their A game, and the writers, they did an excellent job writing the dialogue and the chemistry in between each of the characters. First off, Batman. Batman is just like so good. Ben Affleck's Batman is my new favorite Batman. Sorry, Christian Bale, but Ben Affleck takes the cake for this one. And I know that he had a major character change in between Batman v Superman and this movie, Justice League. And a lot of people think that's negative, but I'd say like it's acceptable. You know, after Superman's death and Batman v Superman,
Spoilers, by the way.
Batman actually felt this like sense of urgency that he needs more people like Superman to come together and to protect Earth from other people like Superman or other people that might have come from different worlds. Now Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman I liked in this movie. She kicked a lot of ass. And Gal Gadot again brings it to the table with this role. Gal Gadot is the primitive live action Wonder Woman. As for Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman, I thought they were really good. As far as Flash goes, I thought his character was well developed. I think probably the most well developed out of the three being introduced in this movie. They made him the comic relief character of the movie, and I thought that was pretty good. He did have a lot of funny moments. And as Cyborg goes, Cyborg when you see Cyborg's scene and hear his backstory of how he became the cyborg that he is, it's actually heartfelt and you feel for him. And in the scene where he's talking to another character, like, as for Aquaman, he was my most anticipated character since watching this movie, and he really delivered. All my expectations were met for him. A lot of people thought he was gonna play this like stereotypical surfer dude because he lives in the water and he like has water powers, but no, it doesn't play like that. And he had a lot of funny moments too. Surprisingly, I know a lot of people were a bit worried about it because in the trailers he was just like this stereotypical surfer bro dude with lines like "alright" and "yeah" and "my man." Like, no, he's pretty good. He was exciting to watch, and I actually am excited for the Aquaman movie. The movie clocks in at about 2 hours exact, and for what it is and for what you get, it's all right. I mean, a part of myself was wishing that it could have been a little bit longer, so we could have gotten a little bit more character development and character interactions between the people. Now, as far as negatives go for the movie, the beginning of the movie is both fast and slow. And what I mean by that is that it being fast, like, it runs through each character's backstory, like, very briefly. Like, you gotta get through Flash's backstory, you gotta get through Cyborg's backstory, you gotta get through Aquaman's backstory. You gotta get to the plot about Steppenwolf and him coming to Earth and him bringing together the mother boxes and trying to take over the world. And in a movie like Justice League, where all these characters come together, you want to see them fight as soon as possible. And it takes a while to get there, but when it gets there, it really pays off. And them fighting the Parademons and Steppenwolf, it kicks a lot of ass. Another thing that I have to take away from this movie is that Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman should have had their own movies before this movie, because when it goes through each of their backstory and each of their origins, it's very brief, and unless you're familiar with the comics, you probably won't understand what's happening or what they're talking about. And when I said that Flash was the most developed out of the three, a lot of people can see that, and a lot of people will probably agree with me because there might be fans of the Flash TV show, and they're doing the same story about Barry's mom being killed and his dad getting the blame for it. It's the same thing in the movie, and that's where like a lot of the viewers are gonna like be familiar with Flash. And as Cyborg goes, his backstory is like there, and like they expect you to like go with it. The way he feels about him being. Now with Cyborg's character, like his backstory is like there, and when he's having a conversation with Wonder Woman, when he's having a conversation with his father, and him feeling like he doesn't belong anymore because he should have died in the accident that made him Cyborg. Like you feel for him, but there's not enough there for you to feel entirely. And with Aquaman's backstory, unless you're familiar with the comics, you're gonna be confused on what he's talking about and what he's talking about with him and Mira and Atlantis. That scene, if you watch the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Like, it comes and then it goes, like it's gone, and a lot of people are gonna be felt like, whoa, what the hell just happened? What are they talking about? Like, I think that's a negative, and that's what's hurting most in this movie. Now, something else about this movie, I'm sure you've heard about it, but the CGI in this movie is overwhelming. Or should I say underwhelming, because it's not really that good. I mean, for a $3 million budget for a movie like this, the CGI should have been, like, spectacular, so to say. Especially with the villain Steppenwolf. When you see Steppenwolf, it's like watching a video game. Injustice, the video game.
Coming soon. Injustice, the movie.
So yeah, the CGI was just like all over the place in this movie. And speaking of Steppenwolf, he is probably the weakest part of this movie. He is not a good villain. The way his backstory was portrayed, or the way his backstory was revealed, and his motivations, he's just like there because like we need a villain for this movie, so here he is. For a movie like this, you wanted him to be like a big baddie, and he felt more like a henchman towards a big baddie. So yeah, Steppenwolf was a pretty forgettable character. Another thing about this movie, and it's gonna happen, is that you can't help but compare it to the Avengers. Like, Avengers came out back in 2012, and everybody was like, oh yeah, Avengers, this is the first time you're gonna see these characters together, and it's gonna be so awesome. So like, for Justice League, like, it feels like it had to live up to that hype, or else it won't be as good. But for what Justice League is, like, it's different than what Avengers did. Justice League is its own movie, same as Avengers was its own movie. Another thing that I want to take away from this movie is that you can definitely tell that it's directed by two people. Joss Whedon came in towards the end of shooting because unfortunate things happened to Zack Snyder and his family. So Joss Whedon did like a whole bunch of reshoots for the movie, and you could tell when some parts it's like funny, you could tell that's Joss Whedon, and when some parts are seriously like moody and dark, that's Zack Snyder. Like, it's not a big deal where like the movie doesn't know what it wants to be, but like it has a good unique balance towards it. And for a movie like this, you would want to have the right amount of balance of like lighthearted and serious. So yeah, that was my initial thoughts for the movie, and I'm gonna be going into spoilers. Again, if you haven't seen the movie,
What are you doing? Go watch it right now.
the first thing I want to talk about is the end credits scene. The first one was the Flash and Superman racing. Like, when that scene popped up, when they're in like the valley and they're about to race, I'm like, oh, they're doing the race. That's so cool. And like watching it for the first time in theaters was really satisfying. I mean, they do cut it off when they both take off. Like, Flash is running and Superman is flying. They have like a freeze frame of it, and then it fades to black. And that's pretty. And I thought that was a pretty cool scene. Like, they left it for speculation for the audience. But the second end credit scene, oh my god, I flipped out. I was in my chair and I was just clapping and going, yes, yes, yes. I was the only one freaking out in the theater, but I didn't care. The second scene is when like the security guard is going to Lex Luthor's cell and he's telling Lex Luthor to come out already. But when he turns his shoulder, it's somebody else, which means that Lex Luthor escaped from prison. And then the next shot is somebody standing on a boat raft going to this yacht, and when you realize who it is, it's Deathstroke. And Deathstroke is in the movie, and it's played by Joe Manganiello, or I don't give a fuck. Like, there were rumors saying that he was supposed to play Deathstroke, but nothing was confirmed. But this is confirmation right now, and he looks so good with the eye patch and his hair all gray, and especially in the suit. Like, Deathstroke looks so good. And he's talking to Lex Luthor on the yacht. That's where Lex Luthor escaped to. And what Lex Luthor says to Deathstroke, he says, maybe it's time to form a league of our own. And in my mind, when he said that, the first thing that came to my mind was the Injustice League. Or it could be the Legion of Doom. I don't know. Whichever they do is going to be like the next Justice League movie. So that's the setup for the next Justice League movie. There's going to be the Legion of Doom or the Injustice League. Some Easter eggs they had in the movie were the Batman '89 theme. The original, like, not the original Batman movie. The original movie was the Adam West movie that came out back in the 60s. But Tim Burton's Batman theme is in the movie, and you can hear it in certain parts. I caught onto it, and I thought like that was pretty cool for them to bring back an iconic score like Batman's Tim Burton. Cyborg says "booyah" like he does in Teen Titans, and he says it a lot in the comic books too. The scene where they're in the jet and they're flying to the final fight, Aquaman is talking to Wonder Woman, and he says, "Our people went to war, but that was before my time." And in my mind, I was thinking, is that a reference to Flashpoint? Because in Flashpoint, the Amazonians and the Atlanteans, they went to war. So that could be a nod to Flashpoint. And Flashpoint is the movie for Flash. Superman's freeze breath is in the movie, and for me, watching that for the first time in theaters, it was really cool. Like, he freezes Steppenwolf's axe, and then Wonder Woman comes in with her sword and slices it in pieces. It didn't cross my mind that they could ever put Superman's freeze breath in the movie, but they did, and it was cool to watch. Another cool Easter egg in the movie is that there's a Green Lantern in the movie. It's not Hal Jordan, it's just a different Green Lantern. And the scene where Diana and Bruce are talking about Steppenwolf, there's like a flashback where like everybody, the Amazonian, the Atlanteans, and like the people of Earth are fighting Steppenwolf for the first time. There's like another being just like flying in the air with like a green outline around him. Like, I missed it at first. Like, it's just like a split second that it's gonna, like, you blink and you're gonna miss it. But the Green Lantern is there, and when he gets killed, like the ring, it flies from his hand. It flies from his hand and then it goes into the sky. Another Easter egg is towards the end of the movie where Batman is at his old mansion and he's talking to Alfred, and he says, "I want a round table here with like 6 chairs." And Wonder Woman just comes out of nowhere like, "6, you're gonna need more." And I'm like, oh, they're building the Hall of Justice. That's so cool. They're building the Hall of Justice in the movie. Yes. Another scene that was kind of reminiscent to me and it reminded me of something was when Batman was on top of the building and he's catching that bad guy, and he's using him to like find a parademon, and the parademon just like shows up and he's fighting Batman. That was kind of familiar to like the Justice League War animated movie and like the first Justice League issue that came out of the New 52. Like, that seems like the same way that it happens in the comics and in the animated film. So I thought that was pretty cool. One thing that is missing in this movie is Superman's mullet. Like, we knew that he was gonna come back in this movie, but we didn't know like how he was gonna look like. So a lot of people were like expecting him to have the mullet, because in the comics when he comes back to life, he has a mullet on, but he doesn't have it in this movie. So it was like kind of a disappointment that we couldn't have the mullet in the movie. Some scenes cut in the trailer. There are scenes that are cut from the trailer, and there are scenes that they edited differently in the trailer. The scene that was cut from the trailer, or like it's more like a line, is when Cyborg is talking to Batman and he says, "I heard stories about you. I didn't think you were real." And Batman goes, "I'm real when I need to be." They cut that from the movie, so I don't know why they did that. I would have liked to hear that. Another scene that was cut different from the trailer to the movie is where Clark Kent is at their house and he's in the field and he talks to Lois and he says, "I'm guessing that's a yes, the ring." And it's edited in the trailer to look like it's a dream sequence, but it's actually like real time in the movie. It's not a dream. But that line also was cut from the movie where he's asking about the ring. Another major scene that was cut from the trailer and the movie was the scene where like it looks like Jurassic Park, where it's like where there's like loud thumps on the ground and you see the water like bouncing. And Alfred turns to somebody and says, "He said you'd come. I didn't think you actually would. Let's just hope you're not too late." That scene is cut entirely from the movie. It's nowhere to be found, and I was a little disappointed because I wanted to know who it was that he was talking to. So the way Superman comes back is that, if you remember from Batman v Superman, where Lex Luthor took General Zod's body into like the pool and he created Doomsday like that, it's the same thing that they did, except that they took a mother box and they had to drop it in the water, and Flash is taking a running start to charge it up and give it the electricity that it needs. So when Cyborg drops the mother box in the water and the Flash is running, he has to charge it at the exact time that it hits the water. So when it happens, Superman just like shoots up and he's in the sky and he's flying, and like it's just pretty cool the way they brought him back. A lot of people think that's a complaint for the movie, but I thought it was pretty okay. So when he's fighting the Justice League, it's Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Flash versus Superman. Superman has like his X-ray vision on, and he's checking the heart rates for each one of them. And Aquaman's heart rate is racing like really fast because he thinks like Superman isn't right. He's not in his right mind. Something's wrong with him. And Cyborg can actually sense Aquaman's heart rate and he's telling him to calm down. But the thing with Cyborg is that he doesn't have full control over his body. So his arm just turns into like a cannon and it's in like defense mode, and Superman takes that as a threat. So you got Cyborg, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman trying to hold down Superman, and Flash is like, okay, I'm gonna get him because he can't catch up to me because I'm the fastest man alive. So when he's running around Superman, and Superman is just like turning his head and it's like looking at Flash, and Flash is looking like, oh shit. Superman was like, yeah, you thought you were the fastest man alive, but I'm just as fast as you. So then he's trying to fight Flash, and Flash is just like blocking every like punch that he throws. And Batman comes in and he says, Alfred bringing the big guns. And in my mind, I'm thinking he's probably bringing in a real big gun. So then Superman turns to Batman and he's grabbing him by the chin and he's lifting him up. And then he says, tell me. And I'm like, say it. And he says, do you bleed? And I was like, ah! So then you see Alfred pull up in the car, and they show a shot of a lady coming out of the car with their high heels on, and I'm like, oh, it's his mother. His mother is the big gun. But then you see that it's Lois, and I'm like, oh, it's just Lois. And that's another thing that I want to take away from this movie, is that Lois Lane is like the least interesting character in like this whole DC extended universe. Like, she was irrelevant in Batman v Superman, and she's kind of irrelevant in this movie. And like, that's what I don't like about Lois Lane. They don't make her an interesting character. But anyways, like, Superman flies off with Lois Lane, and the Justice League is just beat up, yo. And that's probably like one of the coolest scenes in the movie. The last thing that I want to talk about from this movie is Batman suits. Batman has like 3-4 different types of suits, and the suit in particular that I liked the most was the suit that he's wearing in the end, in the final battle. It's like his spandex that he has underneath, and then he has like an exo armor on, and the knives that I don't think they're called knives, they're called something else, but what he has on his wrists, they're like super long and super sharp, and I can't help but think that it looks like the Super Shredder from Ninja Turtles 2 back in the 90s. And after he's done fighting Superman, he takes off his cape, he takes off his cowl, and he just has the suit on by itself. And it looks really good. I was surprised by how many suits he used in this movie. Now, if I were to give a rating for this movie, I would give it a 3 for being really good. There were a lot of things good about it, and there were some things not so good about it. If we were to have a movie for the 3 new characters before this movie came out, I think it would have impacted the movie a lot better. But for what we got, for what it's worth, it's a 3 for being really good. Anyways, that's my take on the movie Justice League. Have you guys seen the movie? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. Leave a like on the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here. I make different kinds of videos all the time. And this is Andy signing out, and I'll see you in the next one.